Hello, my name is Mark. I'm a concept artist and illustrator working in the entertainment industry. And in this tutorial, we're gonna design a post-apocalyptic medicine man or like a tribal shaman. What I had in mind for this character design is actually I imagined like a backstory. So I imagined that there was a big war and after the war, most of the planet's population died out, and the remaining uh, people sunk back into like a tribal society. And uh, the most precious objects for them are the remains of this ancient civilization. What they don't really remember anymore because this whole thing happened like hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So I thought the best way to design this guy is to actually uh, focusing on the mask, what he's wearing. And for that, I wanted to design the original armor first because I thought he's gonna wear a really high-tech helmet. What remained from, or they found, what is a remain, or like an artifact from the war, from this ancient war. So to do this, I thought the best way to just jump into ZBrush and quickly do a sculpt about and focusing on the helmet. So I really like working with ZBrush for stuff like this because it's really easy to experiment and I can simply just focus on the shape and I'm not distracted by the composition or the colors of the image what I'm creating. I can simply focus on the design and it also enables me to create much more freely and much more fluidly. So for this I simply started with the Dynamesh sphere, and I'm trying to use ZBrush more like if I would sculpt in clay, so I don't really use any special tools most of the time. I just simply go in and sculpt and try to pull and push the digital clay what I'm working with. So I roughly plugged in the shape, and I'm also trying to keep in mind that a guy should wear this, and I want him to I want to I want to show uh, his eyes under the helmet as well. So I don't want to cover the whole face completely, just most of the face. So I'm going more. I really uh, like not really a streamlined helmet, but more trying to create like a unique design, but still so not like a design for spec ops, but maybe like a helmet design for field soldiers. But this is probably these creatures weren't even human. They definitely were humanoid, but they were probably some kind of alien race, and these are the remains of the alien race. So that's or the helmet. What's left? Because I so just slowly adding a bit more details to make it look more functional, adding creases to the helmet, flattening down parts to make it look more manufactured. I'm just trying to create interesting shapes basically, and break up all the major shapes into smaller ones, and create edges, create sharper edges and flat surfaces. Try to balance out the small details with the bigger flat surfaces what I have in the middle and on the sides. creating the seams between the different parts of the helmet. It was probably maybe the function was to enable the aliens to breathe in the planet's atmosphere. So it's probably was some kind of filtering system with, and also served as a basic protection on the head. I don't want to get into too much details, but I still wanna show that they were like bolts in it and stuff like that, because I know I'm gonna age this helmet anyway and break it down and add more details. So, and as you see, I don't detail out the rest of the helmet, so I just go with it. Quickly decimated the helmet to have less polygons, and I was just thinking that I can add like another part to show that it was sort of like a gas mask, so like a breathing device as well. So I'm thinking about adding some pipes and maybe another section on the back. So I'm not really worried about topology. I don't really want to be precise, because I know I'm gonna paint this over. So I just need this to really just to have an idea about about the helmet in general, and just to have a solid base what I can paint over. And it's much, for me it's much easier to experiment in ZBrush than paint everything in Photoshop. Actually, it's not easier, it's probably the same, but it's definitely faster, and in terms of lighting and perspective, using a 3D base is definitely way more accurate if you want to work faster. So yeah, adding some kind of extra device on the back. I'm not really worried about the creature's body. So this is pretty much just, this is just about the mask and the whole thing. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with it so far. So I just what I wanted to do is basically just pose it a little bit to not have that rigid straight on front view, just to give it a bit of a movement. Because I wasn't exactly sure how I gonna use I'm gonna pose the guy later. So, but I wanted to give it like a nice solid base in terms of pose. It's still a really static pose, but it gives us a bit more movement in this static pose, and I think, or at least in terms of dynamism, it gives sort of a little bit of attitude to the creature or this guy. How he looks back. You know. I probably should have done this before adding those pipes, because now I had to repose all those pipes and cylinders. So it wasn't really such a huge job. Yeah, and I'm pretty happy with how the sculpt turned out. Quick save, and just trying to find a good angle. And I'm saving, usually I find an angle and save that out, and then I resize the document because ZBrush is working in a 2.5 dimension. So, and then dropping back in the model, and now it's much easier to work to sculpt in lower res, and then if you want to render out something, uh, just pump up the resolution. And I'm just created. I sort of skip this part. I just basically I created some really basic renders straight from ZBrush and dropped them into Photoshop. But because it was a really long process, I mean doing the renders and waiting the render times, etc. with that resolution, I simply skipped that part. But you can see on the right side that there are all those render buses. It's basically an alpha bus, a couple of different rim lights, and the main light and the depth bus. That's pretty much it. And beside the image, you can see I just gathered some references, but I'm gonna use as a photo base and paint over. So I just dropped in this guy. I really did like the body of the guy and the pose. So I decided to use him as a base. So I'm gonna paint them over. So I just thought it's easier to use that part of the body than actually painting the whole thing, and I'm gonna paint over the guy anyway. So I don't think it's such a big crime. Usually, if I have to do professional work, I I do most of the paintings in these cases, or I try to use my own photograph and my own photo textures most of the time. You have to be careful with copyright reasons. And I just dropped in another photo in the back, and now I went in and I'm trying to adjust the layer classes just to sort of match to the overall color scheme of my photo base, to matching the bounce light, sort of getting a bit more rustier base color for the whole thing and an overlay layer. Yeah, just flattening it down quickly, and yeah, just doing a crop. So I don't keep much from the photos, as you see. I'm gonna paint over the background totally. I just needed that photo to have like a color guide almost, and I use the other photos more like textures and photo bashing them together. Yeah, blurred out the background because I felt it was a bit too distractive. And started to paint on top already. Wasn't pretty happy with the composition of the background. It felt a bit weird, so I'm quickly painting it over. So, and now jumping on a mask, and I thought it's better to break up and have different areas, like saturated and less saturated areas. And now I'm just painting on top, and first I'm trying to integrate all the all the elements what I've put together, the different textures, the 3D elements, the photographs. Also trying to match it to the overall lighting of the guy, because my helmet got more like a top-down lighting, and I'm trying to match it to the body's more like top left, top right lighting, as you can see. So this whole phase is just about integration. I try not to zoom in really much, because this is, I try to keep it more as a concept and not like a super detailed illustration. Usually a concept is about the idea itself, and I just would like to push the design to the point where it communicates my idea perfectly. Because it's a bit misleading that now most of the digital art, they say most of the digital art is concept art, but it's not really true. So most of the concept art is experimenting and putting down really rough ideas, and as many ideas as possible to have a much more diversity, and then instead of creating a fully polished illustrations. So yeah, jumping back and forth between the background and the guy. Doing some color adjustments, some color balance too. Color balance is a really nice tool, because you can integrate them. It sort of integrates all the previous elements into one, because you're pretty much making the same adjustments on all of them, and it brings the colors together. Pushing the details a bit more, adding like the creases, adding small cracks, more aging to the mask, like earrings and little additional details, just to unify the whole design more. Now it's getting pretty much to the same level, everything. So I don't think you would tell that mask was created in 3D originally. This whole process is not really about. So it doesn't really matter if you use 3D or photographs or painting, if you use them carefully. And the main thing is to have a cohesive final look on your image. I decided to slightly change the silhouette and break through those ears a bit more, just to make them look a bit more interesting. And now I'm just working on a simple normal layer and picking the color straight from the image. So I plugged in everything from this point. From this point on, it's basically just a matter of time and amount of detail what I put into a piece. I also thought that it could be cool to show something like bullet cases, what they use as decoration around the masks, and I found this African mask, what had this sort of probably cane tubes or something, but they definitely look like rusty bullet cases. What fit to my concept perfectly. So I decided to use those as an extra decoration, beside the tribal uh, grass beard thing element. I also decided to change the central piece design on the helmet, just to add more detail. And I also have to integrate all those bullet case decorations to the helmet, so I'm painting on top again. Usually I like to flatten down the layers or merge the layers and commit myself to certain changes what I do, because it forces me to solve to really solve those problems, and not going back, not doing any undo. So instead, all those even accidental changes are staying in the picture. Adding a bit more shadows, a bit more framing. Also pushing the background a bit more. Just adding gradients and also painting on top a bit more. I wanted to simplify it even more than what was before. Just checking the composition, flipping the canvas upside down, left and right. Pretty sure you see it in this technique before. And then yeah, just painting on top again, adding smaller details, a bit more veer, some highlights. Picking the colors from the body to have the same value and same color temperature on around the eyes, but even on the body. Veers around the edges, scratches. Bounce lights on the other side. This is really the final detailing stage. I mean, sort of final, so I can go with this forever. So if I really would like to detail this piece out, that would take probably another 6 to 8 hours. And I thought I can unify it with a body paint, what goes on the guy's body and on the helmet as well. To keep it fully cohesive. So I'm painting it in an overlay layer, and now I'm raising it back into parts, so it's not like, so it's a bit cheap to paint, not really. And I missed something from the guy, so I decided to add more dreadlocks in the background. Just to have something and have a bit more interesting silhouette overall. And now I flattened down everything, and this is like the final finishing stage. So I created another layer, added a bit of Gaussian blur, and now I'm erasing back the blurred layer, creating like a fake uh, depth effect. Fixing the saturation, the overall color balance, pushing that a bit more, pushing the brightness and the contrast a bit more, and now adjusting those layers depending on what I feel is right, because I like to go a bit more overboard and then pull back those effects a bit, adding a bit more color dodge, just to strengthen the light a bit. And adding some final textures, some blood splatters on the guy and some rust marks to everywhere. As you could see, we were in the desert, so I need a bit more bloom, and the wind is blowing the sand slightly, so I'm adding those environmental effects. And yeah, this is pretty much done. I'm just darkening down the edges a bit to focus more on the guy, and it's done. So thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something.